Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld again. Thanks for stopping by, and just remember, if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button. Also, feel free to take a look at some of my other BF4 videos. You can find them all in a playlist in the description down below. But anyway, last week I made a video on the Dutch Royal Marines, and today we're going to be taking a look at the British Royal Marines. This loadout has actually been suggested a few times in the comments of previous videos, but I thought it would be a good follow-up to last episode because both groups have so much in common. As always, if any of you guys want to suggest a theme for an upcoming episode, then feel free to let me know in the comments. Just remember though, I don't have time to check out every idea, so make sure you come up with something fun and unique, and there's a good chance I'll take a look. Now, to kick off, the 1st Regiment of British Maritime Infantry, like I said in the last episode, were formed in 1664, the same year as the Dutch Royal Marines. It wasn't until 1755, though, that they came to be known as the Royal Marines, and at this time their size grew to about 3 full divisions. Originally, these troops were used to defend British Navy ships and as part of invasion forces, but they were also used as the defence force of many colonies. In fact, one of these colonies was Australia, and they actually served here till as late as 1913, which was 12 years after Australia had become a country in its own right. In modern times, though, the role of the Royal Marines has changed a fair bit, though, and they basically serve as the elite amphibious commandos of the British Army. They took on this role in 1942 during World War II, where they saw action in a number of famous commando raids, including the Dieppe raid in France. It was raiding and direct action missions like this that became the specialty of the Royal Marines, who are currently the only European force that can undertake them at a brigade level. And this basically means that even though some units come close, very few units are actually as unique or as suited to this role, and that includes even the famous SAS. Now, speaking of similar units, how do the Royal Marines compare to, say, the US Marine Corps? Well, to begin with, the Royal Marines are a lot smaller, with less than 8,000 members compared to over 180,000 in the USMC. The reason for this is because although they share a similar name, the USMC is an entire branch in its own right, with infantry, aircraft, tanks, and its own special forces. The Royal Marines, on the other hand, like I said, are a smaller elite commando force, so in a sense, they're basically similar to what the USMC would call their force recon units. But that's not the only units comparable to the British Royal Marines. In fact, many groups around the world have clearly followed in their footsteps. You only need to take a look at how many SOF units wear the famous green-coloured beret, which was originally worn by the Royal Marines in World War II. In fact, a lot of people would argue that the era of modern special forces began with the Royal Marines and the SAS during that time. So for this reason, it's understandable that the SOF units of so many countries were modelled on these groups, and still to this day their tactics and training are emulated around the world. But anyway, the Royal Marines aren't quite as well equipped as the SAS, but they do have access to pretty much everything in the British Army's arsenal. For example, their standard weapons are the L85, the Glock 17, and as you can see in this video, the L86 and the P226. The reason I chose the support class though is because I think it's a great choice for a commando loadout, considering they have access to the C4. And to run with this idea for the rest of the loadout along with the C4, well, why not use the good old frag grenades and the ammo box, because who doesn't like a lot of explosions? As for attachments, well, the standard optic of the Royal Marines is the ACOG scope, and the L86 also comes equipped with a bipod. Apart from this though, I couldn't find any photos with any other attachments, so as you can see I'm not really running anything else in the other 2 slots. As for the P226, well, like I say in every video, military forces can't really justify spending money on sidearm attachments, so as you can see I'm not running anything on it at all. But unlike the G18 from last episode, the P226 isn't that hard to use to begin with, so no attachments doesn't really hurt it that much anyway. Now, as for how this setup performed in-game, well, I've got to say it was a challenge, because even with good attachments, the L86 isn't a god gun. It's basically the support class's own assault rifle, which means that it's never going to be as good as the assault weapons, and it's not going to fill the role of an LMG either. In fact, in real life, the L86 is apparently used in a DMR role, which is why it comes equipped with an ACOG and a bipod. But the problem is, in-game, that it doesn't really deal enough damage for this role, and with a standard AR capacity, it doesn't have the sustain to use as a bipod LMG either. That being said, I really did try my best to bipod up and get some kills, which, like you can see in this video, can work from time to time. Most of the time though, you'll just get sniped or someone's going to sneak up behind you, so I found the only mode this was really effective in was probably Rush. Even then it wasn't really that good, and half the time just playing the objective normally felt a lot more fun when you weren't getting killed in CQB. And sadly that's something that happens quite a lot with a setup like this, because you just don't stand a chance with a 4x scope at point blank range. Now, the one redeeming quality of this gun was the fact that being a bullpup design, it can hip fire a lot better than most LMGs, and this can save you from time to time. Bearing this in mind, I think if you added a laser sight, it would go a long way to making up for the ACOG, so if I wasn't playing to a theme, I probably would have thrown one on. On the other hand though, I must admit that the ADS accuracy of the L86 isn't that great, which is another reason you definitely shouldn't be using it with an ACOG. So if you're really serious about being effective with this gun, you probably will want to use a one-time sight and a heavy barrel, which would make it a lot easier to use and would tighten up the spread a whole lot. As is though, well, I'd say if you're really keen on the Royal Marines theme, then definitely give this setup a try, but just don't expect to enjoy the experience. I mean, if this was a game like Armour, I'd say go for your life, but in BF4 there's very few advantages to using a mid-range optic or a bipod. I would recommend that you look into the Royal Marines though, because they're a group that has a lot of history, and it was a lot of fun researching them. Most of the units I cover in this series are only a few decades old, so it was nice to cover a little bit more history in this video, and hopefully, if you guys like it, I can make some more videos like this in the future. But anyway guys, that just about wraps up this episode, so let me know what you think in the comment section below, and as always, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the links in the description below if you want to see more of my videos, or if you want to support my channel on Patreon, and until next time, see you later, and have a good one.